This lesson is on recursive programming. This is where we have a PHP program call itself when the submit button is clicked, and the program will call itself over and over again. Now in the past, you've seen that I've started with an HTML form, clicked the submit button, and called another PHP program. But in this case, we're going to keep calling ourselves over and over again. That's what makes it recursive. So I have preloaded the address up here, and I want you to pay particular attention to the -rev1 on the URL, and that'll become clear in a second. So I'm going to run this. All right, I have a little form here to put a list of items that I want to shop for. I don't shop that much, so I just put 2 items. So item and amount. So let's say I'm paying my bills. I'll put in rent, $1,200. Okay. Right now it says total amount is 0. I press click me. Okay, it totaled that to $1,200 perfectly. Let's put something else in. Food, $200. Click me. Okay, it added it up to $1,400. Each time I hit click me, I'm calling the very same program up here, and it's coming back and processing the data in the form and retotaling. Let's say I make some kind of error. I accidentally stick an X or an S in my rent field, and I hit click me. Now I get an error message over here on the right side of the row. Mess this one up too. And we get one error message for that as well. And now instead of showing me a total amount, it shows me the number of errors that I have. All right, let's go look at the code. So let's take this to the top. And I want you to pay attention to the form tag for a second. This is a form tag that I've commented out. This is an HTML comment here, so this isn't actually running. But you would think that on a form tag for a program to call itself, you'd specify the program name right there. Notice this one doesn't have a rev1 on it. This is what I had originally. But then I wanted to make a change, and I changed the program name itself. So if I had done that using this methodology, I'd have to go in and change the program name on the action tag. Actually, this is not the way it's usually done. This form tag here is what we normally do. On the action tag, we specify a PHP statement. Now look at this. We've got a beginning PHP tag, right? And we've got the ending tag. So this is a whole PHP block of code. As it is, there's just one statement in it. It's an echo statement. Recall that echo is a lot like print. They do essentially the same thing. I use print more often than echo, but either one would work here. We look at the $server superglobal, and we pass it a parameter name, PHP_self. This says this bit of code here is going to tell the program to be recursive. It doesn't matter what we name the program, it's going to keep calling itself over and over again when we click the submit button. So this is how it's done. All right, let's go down and look at the code. Now, I have named each one of these things, item 1, item 2, amount 1, amount 2. Before we look at the code here, let's do a view page source back on the page. And you can see here, item 1 is rent, item 2, food, amount 1, and there's the value with the bad letters that I put in there to make them not numeric. So back to the code now, flip back here. So I'm checking each one of these items, and you may recall that a field isn't really on the web page the first time we run this until the page is fully loaded into the browser. So if we write code trying to refer to it, that code will fail because it's not there. And to remind you, the way we ask the question in PHP, are you there, is with the isSet function. That's going to check to see if item 1 is there. If it's not, we don't want to do anything with it. So I'm going to set this variable name to be item 1 is just tick tick. That's an empty string. If it is there, this will pass, and then I set item 1 to be the value that the user entered in item 1. I do the same thing with item 2, amount 1, and amount 2. Now this isn't ideal code for an undeterminate amount of rows of data, but just to keep things simple, I hardwired this since we're just dealing with 2 rows and 2 cells. I set up some initial values for totaling and for error counting. And now I build into a variable called $display. I'm going to build the table and my entire output, and then just have one print statement at the end that displays the whole thing. So here, table, you've seen this before, the row and the titles, or the headings rather, the item and amount. And now let's look at the code here that I'm building with the data in it. Now I got the item 1 and I got the amount 1 through the $post up above, but now I have to reset it on the input tag. Here, type equals text, name equals item 1, value equals, and I have to set the value for that to be written out again. It doesn't happen automatically. I have to place it there in the input tag that I'm writing out to the form. Now in the past, when we had these input tags just be a part of HTML, we didn't do any of that. But now we're writing these input tags out as a part of a PHP statement. So let's look at the concatenation operators on both sides of this. So I'm putting item 1 in here. Also notice that I got a single tick inside that quote and inside this double quote. That's so my values are always enclosed in single quotes. I'm going to go back to the web page again for a second. Okay, and I want to view page source so you see what the output looks like. See, value, it's got a single tick there and a single tick there. So it needs to have that so that the output displays properly. Also with rent and food. If these things weren't quoted, either with double or single quotes, then if I had an item that was like zoo space tickets, I bought tickets to the zoo, the value would cut off at the word zoo. As soon as it saw a space, it would say, I'm done. But by wrapping this in single ticks, you preserve the spaces as well. Let's go back to the code. So I'm writing this out, and I'm writing it for item 1 and amount 1. And now I do the checking. Remember how I got an error before? When I put in a bad amount, I put in some characters in the amount field. Well, I don't want to do any checking on the amount field whatsoever if there's nothing in it, because the form's blank when we first start, right? So I want to make sure that it's not empty. If it's empty, it'll fall through and I won't do anything. Okay, I'm not even going to try to total it. There's nothing to total. So once I'm sure it's not empty, I check to see if it's numeric. You may recall we used this before. So if it's numeric, then I'm going to add amount 1 to the total. Now, this plus equals is a shortcut for $totals equal $total plus amount 1. So this is a shortcut way to add amount 1 to the total. And this will happen on every row. Now, if we ever get a non-numeric amount, I add 1 to the error counter, and then I write this other cell out here that has color red and amount whatever we entered is not numeric. I copied this code down here and did the same thing. I just did it for amount 2. I hardwired it that way. Same kind of idea. And that's why you saw those error messages. Down at the end of the form, I'm building up if my error count was greater than 0, meaning I had errors, then I write out the number of errors with the error count. Else, I must have not had any errors, so I write out the total amount with the total. At the end of the whole thing, we print it, and we get the whole form. So that ends our lesson on recursive programming.